one phone while I'm using the other one. Anyway, I'll just repeat your question just in case I got cut off there, because it seems to have started again now. So Vishali's question was, we see in this world that we live in all the time, we see that people are acting whimsically, on a whim, and doing things ultimately that are not for their benefit. So how is it that they come to the point of understanding that and basically surrendering to Krishna? I think that was the question. So good question. Thank you, Vishali. I think the first thing to say on that is that we just have to think of ourselves first and foremost from the point of view that we are that soldier. Certainly we chant Hare Krishna, we engage in service, we honor prasadam, we do many of the things, important things as it relates to devotional life and devotional service. But it doesn't mean that we are pure devotees. We are still, to some degree, acting on our own whims like that. So at least I guess that helps us with the principle of doya, or the principle of compassion, that we may see somebody who's 100% acting on their own whims. So we're not doing that 100%, but we can at least identify with it. Because one, we have done it 100% in the past, and now, while we've reduced that, we haven't completely eliminated acting on our own whims, etc. So that at least should give us some context to that. I'd also say, of course, the verse from Bhagavad Gita, Yayatam Prabhajante, that Krishna, he will reward everybody according to how they want to be rewarded and how they deserve to be rewarded, if you like. But ultimately, the only answer I can give to your question, how do they get to the point of surrender, and this applies to us all, is through experience. The experience that is the solution to our problem. Prabhupada gives the example of a child, and he says, you may tell a child, Prabhupada says that there's different levels of intelligence in terms of understanding things, and the topmost level and the best level is that a devotee, a person, that they understand by hearing. They hear something, they understand. The next level, or the other level, is that you understand by experience. So you may tell a child, and Prabhupada goes on, you may tell a child, don't touch the fire, because it will hurt you, it will be bad for you. But inevitably a child, that somehow or another, the way children function, and I guess it's the way we all function to some degree in the material world, if we're told that we can't, reverse psychology, if we're told we shouldn't do something, or we can't do something, or we shouldn't do something, we're more inclined to do it. That's the way of the world. So a child will be told not to do it, but then they will go and do it. Now, when they do it, and they touch a fire, whether it be an open fire or whatever type of fire they're touching, and they get burned, and they get one of those horrible blisters that we get from being burned, then they don't do it again. At least I'm not really aware that of somebody, a child like that will go and do it again. Now they'll suddenly be super cautious of ever going near a fire because they've had the experience of that. So, as that relates to your question, that's why we're here in the material world. The material world is effectively a massive classroom, an educational facility where we're all learning about our existence and how our existence ties in. How our existence that we're experiencing right now, how that ties in with the whole cosmic creation, the creator of that cosmic creation and our role in it, and how we can how we can be best situated, basically, which, just as it happens, when you're best situated means you're also going to be happy, etc., etc. So experience, we learn from experience. And while it's a very difficult point, and being online, I'm almost a little reluctant to say it, because once you speak online, it can go anywhere. Devotees are compassionate, so let me say that. Devotees are compassionate. And their compassion should be in all situations. So Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj famously was walking down the street with some of his disciples, and there was a beggar on the street, and beggars looking for money to buy food or whatever it is. And the devotees walked past, and at least some of his devotees, if only one, I can't remember, of his disciples, was Grihastha. So grihasta means that they work, etc., and that, and they're functioning in the world like that. And he walked past, and Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj stopped and said, "It's your duty to help people, more vulnerable people, and people who are not as well situated as you're situated." So compassion's on all levels. It's not just on the spiritual level. It's also on those kind of levels too. We're all in this material world. We all have certain duties and we all have certain functions, and we should, live and fulfill those duties and functions that are assigned to us through our age, through our ashram, through whatever else. We shouldn't neglect those. So Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was making that point to his disciple: you're grihasta, you're a businessman, whatever. You should help this person. This person is more vulnerable than you. At the same time, the ultimate compassion that we need to assist with is for people understanding this material world and understanding their position in it, and how without knowledge of Krishna and without engaging in the service of Krishna, we're never going to be happy, and we're always going to suffer, and those sufferings are ever increasing, the intolerable. So, going back to the verse we read today about nature, and nature provides everything. You read the descriptions of the heavenly planets. It's like with your diamond-studded roads and the mountain streams. You just have to drink a glass of water a day, and you have all the nutrients and vitamins that you need to survive, etc., and all of those kind of things. Absolutely incredible descriptions of these glorious, glorious places. So in that sense, nature is kind, and nature is a benefactor, and nature will reciprocate with us if we use nature in Krishna's service. But when we don't, there's a reaction. And that's the part that people find so difficult to understand. And I'll be quite frank with you. Ever since I first picked up one of Prabhupada's books and read and understood this point that we're discussing now about material nature and karmic reaction that people get in terms of how they interact with it, for me it was just like this incredible penny dropping, and me thinking, wow, that's an incredible bit of information. I think I was about 21 at the time, something like that, and I remember thinking, boy, I've lived in this world for 21 years and I've never heard this expressed before. Why have I never heard it expressed before? Because it makes so much sense. It's like it's and my absorption of that point, there wasn't even, I'm really expressing this as honestly as I possibly, there wasn't even 1% of me that thought, oh, that's harsh, that's cruel. I just thought, wow, this is incredible information. This is wonderful. Why has nobody told me this before? This makes so much sense. Yeah, and also, actually, funnily enough, it's so empowering and liberating, because now, whatever external things are happening, I actually have control of them. Because if negative things are happening to me, they're happening for a reason. So I just have to stop doing those things that are producing that negative reaction. I just found it so liberating, and it was such common sense, and it was incredible. And so to this day, whatever it is, 38 years later, whatever it is, to this very day, I still think the same, but I still think I want to give this information to everybody else so they can feel as liberated as I felt when I first came in contact with it. But somehow or another, if you make that point to people in the wrong way, they get all offended. Think, how can you say that? And people are really, which is kind of an unfortunate thing. So we can't somehow or another, we have to become really expert also, not just knowing the message and understanding the message ourselves, but being able to present it in a way that people will accept it in a positive way and not be negative or reject it. And then, of course, that means they may have so many millions more sojourns in this world. Whereas if we somehow or another are able to package it and present it in a way that's acceptable to them, we can effectively start their journey back to the spiritual world right now. So I don't know if I've answered all the points, but yeah, I kind of share, because I sense in the way the question was worded, I kind of sense the same frustration that I experience from time to time. I don't really understand. It seems so obvious to me. It seems so obvious, that, if I abuse nature, then I'm going to get a reaction for that. Now, what's happened now is we're getting a reaction as it stands now. We're getting a reaction as it relates to this coronavirus. But if you suggest to people that's our own fault because of us abusing nature, many people will turn around and say, "Ah, you arrogant, you know, whatever." You know, they react negatively to it. So, yeah, what to do other than become expert in delivering that message as nicely as possible. Thank you very much, Vishali. And I think I will end there now. It's 20 minutes to 5. And I just thank everybody who came today and listened. Really appreciate that. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki.